Kia ora everyone.
Kia ora.
Tama tarahi. So, the outcome statement that was put together by the drafting committee is now ready to be read out for endorsement. So, outcome statement. Peer and collective learning talanoa for Polynesian organisations of persons with disability. OPDS 2025. So there are 5 contents, beginning with introduction, 2 key themes and discussions, 3 Indigenous strategies, 4 recommendations by stakeholders, and 5 conclusions. Bear with me because there's quite a few paragraphs of these contents. So the introduction starts like this. The peer and collective learning talanoa dialogue, the Polynesian OPDS, it's the first of its kind in the Pacific, took place from the 17th to the 21st of February 2025, with the participation of OPDS from Cook Islands, Samoa, Tonga, Tuvalu. Fiji Association of the Deaf was also present to support our deaf peers. In total, 33 persons with disabilities engaged in talanoa. The talanoa was a listening, learning and sharing space designed and led by Pacific persons with disabilities, with Pacific persons with disabilities for Pacific persons with disabilities. We aim to facilitate peer learning, foster inclusion and explore Indigenous approaches to advocacy and advancing the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, within the Polynesian subregion. At the centre of talanoa was celebrating and encouraging and embracing our Pacific culture and our diversity as important tools in influencing the change we want to see in our society. We explored the diversity within our disability movement, the diversity in our cultures, the diversity in our lived experience and our expertise, and the diversity in our advocacy strategies for making our rights real. We recognise that we hold expertise and experience, and we must share, and that our voices are important in co-creating solutions to make our world a better place. A key part of the talanoa was the coming together of deaf persons from each country to meet for the first time, form community and learn how to establish themselves as representative organisations of deaf persons. We thank the Fiji Association of the Deaf for their expertise and capacity development, support for our deaf peers. We Pacific persons with disabilities are stakeholders for opportunities for us to come together to talanoa. For this talanoa, we thank the Disability Rights Advocacy Fund for financial and technical support. Our advocacy achievements as OPDS are also a celebration of government commitments to the rights of persons with disabilities. We acknowledge the Prime Minister of the Independent State of Samoa, the Honourable Fiame Naomi Mataafa, for confirming our shared commitments to the rights of persons with disabilities and the Sustainable Development Goals. So number 2, key themes and discussions. Our voices in diversity. A, we centred the voices of marginalised groups, including deaf persons and persons with intellectual disabilities, and valued their contribution to the disability movement, to the effectiveness of our mandate as OPDS and our advocacy for promoting our rights. We value deaf culture and community. Sharing deaf lived experiences. Our deaf peers shared their life stories. Fiji Association of the Deaf, FAD, shared the importance of and provided guidance on establishing deaf-led organisations. FAD has offered ongoing support to the deaf community in Polynesia. Sign language must evolve from deaf community using indigenous ways of creating signs according to our context. We also learned the value of having a clear code of ethics for support services. We learned handshake, orientation, location, movement and expression, HOLMES, as key principles for when creating a sign. Indigenous approaches to change. Change takes time, and embracing Talanoa as a central advocacy strategy for respectful and collective dialogue was common across our countries. A mix of traditional Pacific approaches and modern strategic planning has been key to our successes. Advocacy strategies, using Indigenous knowledge and approaches to lobby governments for disability rights. Inclusive education, social protection and disaster risk reduction has influenced progress towards our rights across the sub-region. Data collection and evidence-based decision making. We learned the importance of OPD capacity to collect and use data for policy influence and program designs. Data ethics such as privacy and program design. Data ethics such as privacy in how we share information was highlighted. Disability inclusive disaster risk reduction, DIDRR. We heard stories of persons with disabilities being included in community preparedness and response efforts, advocating for their representation in village disaster committees and strengthening partnerships with National Disaster Management Office. Education and learning, inclusive learning. Using our Indigenous methods of respectful Talanoa, we have built strong relationships and collaborated with families, schools, governments, communities to address barriers to education and technical and vocational education and training. We see change when there is strengthened teacher training, community involvement and co-created solutions for inclusive education, providing reasonable accommodation for learners and promoting earlier access to education for deaf children, children with intellectual disabilities and children who are often marginalised is a priority. Strengthening OPDs. We want to grow stronger together. We appreciate that there is a relationship between our effectiveness as an organisation and the credibility and influence of our advocacy. We committed to strengthening our governance, teamwork, diversity of funding and leadership for effective disability advocacy, accountability and transparency. As OPDs, we must be accountable to our members, donors and partners by maintaining clear governance structures, inclusive and diverse representation, financial oversight and regular reporting.
Thank you.
Number 3, Indigenous strategies. Like Pacific waters that touch our shores, Talanoa is the common thread that unites us together and allows us to see things from our diverse perspectives. Talanoa is a living practice of listening, learning, sharing and moving forward together. Achieving our rights requires a community approach, one that values us as individuals and as members of our families, communities and our countries. As a key tool for our advocacy, Talanoa is what is helping us make our rights real. We ask all our peers and partners to Talanoa with us. We shared and reinforced the following common Indigenous strategies to drive disability rights, advocacy and systems change. Talanoa as a transformational tool. This specific cultural practice of open, respectful conversation is key to our ability to influencing and exercising our rights. Storytelling. For generations, our stories have been passed down by oral means, and we continue to use this practice in our Talanoa and our advocacy. We value the many ways we Talanoa, including through stories, videos, drama, song, and other creative methods of sharing stories. Collective action. Advocating together as a unified movement to strengthen voices and increase impact rather than working in isolation. Family and community. Engagement. Valuing family and community networks and allies, including traditional village structures and faith-based groups to help promote inclusion and challenge discrimination. Navigating systems creatively. If direct approaches are blocked, exploring alternative pathways such as working through informal networks and allies. Respect for traditional knowledge. Incorporating traditional knowledge, values and practices to inform policy advocacy and program design. Learning by doing. Creating spaces where many and diverse persons with disabilities can practice leadership and advocacy in real-world situations, gain confidence, build allies, own their rights, and share responsibility for advocacy with others. We recognise the diverse cultures represented Polynesia, and that Indigenous strategies are even more diverse with each context. Number 4, recommendations by stakeholders. For OPDs, 1. Strengthen networking and partnerships to continue our peer learning and collective advocacy. 2. Ensure that diverse persons with disabilities are included and contribute to decision making, accessing and benefiting from our OPDs. Support the establishment of OPDs representing marginalised groups. 3. Ensure more members, staff and volunteers have knowledge and skills to advocate across the CRPD articles. This will ensure consistency and sustainability of advocacy. 4. Develop the governance structures, clear mandates and leadership succession plans to sustain OPD effectiveness. Understand and live out our mandate under the CRPD as representative organisations of persons with disabilities. 5. Build capacity in data collection to provide evidence for policy influence and funding proposals. Advocate for data disaggregated, ensuring data and evidence is inclusive of deaf persons, people with intellectual disabilities and other marginalised groups. 6. Work proactively with government agencies as well as reactively ensuring a consistent presence in decision-making spaces. 7. Advocate for disability-inclusive disaster risk reduction planning at the village and national levels and ensure staff are equipped with disaster risk reduction expertise. 8. Provide inclusive education by advocating for improved teacher training, accessible learning materials and early intervention and enrolment for children with disabilities. So for governments, 1. Talanoa and collaborate with OPDs in policy and program development to ensure disability inclusion. Provide reasonable accommodation to enable our full and effective participation on an equal basis with others. This includes sign language interpreters, braille, support persons, and the like. 2. Fulfill and monitor our obligations under the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, ensuring a monitoring mechanism exists and operates. Recognise our diversity with implementing legislation, policies and programs. 3. Invest in inclusive education, ensuring early access for deaf children, children with intellectual disabilities, and children who are often marginalised and excluded from education. 4. Recognise sign language and braille as official languages and increase accessibility measures to ensure their availability. 5. Strengthen social protection systems to better support the diverse needs of persons with disabilities. Recognise that cash allowances alone do not adequately support the costs associated with disability because of the inaccessible environments around us. For example, transport, medical care, accessible information and communication. 6. Ensure the full inclusion of persons with disabilities in disaster risk reduction planning and response mechanisms, including in village level committees, in village level response plans, and in National Disaster Management Office policies and processes. ensure support services are accessible and available to all persons with disabilities to make sure messages accommodate specific and diverse information and communication needs. 7. Ensure access to basic and essential services such as healthcare, rehabilitation, assistive devices and technical services. Technology services. 8. Recognise our expertise and resource persons with disabilities to provide the necessary training and support to our members. For example, deaf-led training on sign language, Braille users training others in reading Braille. For donors and partners. 1. Recognise that sustainable change takes time and adjust grant making and support accordingly. We want to go far together with you rather than go fast, which impacts sustainability. 2. Respect and integrate Indigenous approaches such as Talanoa into program frameworks. Our cultural and community practices will ensure shared ownership and progress towards realising our rights by and with our communities and governments. 3. Support core funding and capacity building that enable OPDs to grow as strong organisations, take ownership of their mandates, advocate and serve their members. 4. Ensure accessibility of funding processes for all persons with disabilities, including those using sign language interpretation, Braille, easy read or other accessible formats. 5. Continue to resource opportunities for the disability movement to gather for Talanoa so that we can regularly learn, share, adapt to and proactively represent diverse persons with disability in our advocacy. 6. Conclusion. The Talanoa was a significant step in building a stronger, more inclusive disability movement in Polynesia. The adoption of the outcome statement signifies a shared vision and commitment by OPDs to work together beyond this Talanoa, ensuring that the voices of all persons with disabilities are heard and their rights realised. Endorsed by OPDs of the Peer and Collective Learning Talanoa for Polynesian OPDs, 2025, dated 21st of February 2025. By the way, those are all your words. They're not just the drafting committee's words, they are all your words. They are all that you talked about and we captured it and then put it in your document. The document belongs to all of us, not just the drafting committee. So without further ado, I will give the mic back to the lady of the moment, Tina.